This week marks my 52nd episode. It is a special episode for me because I've learned so much over the last year. I'd like to share with you what being a podcaster/artist means in today's world. Hey, welcome to the Monique on the Mic podcast. I'm your host, Monique B. Thomas. This show is your go-to resource for professional and aspiring singers. Every Monday, join me for a mix of solo episodes and insightful interviews where I share real artist stories, practical strategies, and mindset shifts. Whether you're just starting out or are already on your journey, you'll find the tools you need to transform your vocal path and feel supported. I keep it real, I keep it fun, and it's always useful and up to date. Let's get into it. A little over a year ago, I had no clue that I would become a podcaster. I've listened to various podcasts, usually about self-help or business, but it had never occurred to me that podcasting would become a part of my future. Then I happened on to Pat Flynn and his book, Superfans. You see, as a creative and educator, I've been looking for ways to reach a very specific group of people, aspiring and professional singers. I know that what I teach will transform the serious singer's journey forever, but I didn't want to do it via TikTok or even YouTube. There's lots of famous self-proclaimed vocal coaches out there that use lots of gimmicks or tips and tricks to garner millions of fans. But I wasn't looking for millions of fans. I was looking for serious singers who wanted real change and were ready to do the work, not just feel good about doing random exercises. So I read the book and I fell down Pat Flynn's rabbit hole. I joined his online business community for a few months and took in as much as I could. The first thing I picked up from him was the t-shirt he wore in most of his trainings said, "Serve first." It actually hit me on the chin because I think I had been guilty of wanting people to follow me on various platforms by making things all about me. It wasn't conscious, but when I was trying to learn about how to gain followers, everyone looked like they were screaming, me, 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 me. And that just wasn't me. Yes, I believe in what I do. In fact, I'm proud of my work, but I'm really not into bragging. The serve first really spoke to me because I felt served when I found Pat's content. First, I ordered a digital copy of his book, and he is a free companion to that book with lots of valuable resources. Quite frankly, Pat gives away a lot, and it's all great stuff. And it got me thinking, if he gives away so much valuable stuff, what would I get if I paid for it? So I joined his SPI community. Oh, by the way, I am not compensated in any way for telling you about this. I'm simply sharing valuable resources, which is something I'm committed to doing. Anyway, through the SPI program, Pat talks about becoming a podcaster and why it's valuable for business owners. It's a great way to position yourself as an authority in your field, but also to connect more deeply with the people who follow you. I'm all about deep connections in a world that seems to thrive on likes and follows. I love to talk, and I'm pretty good at that, so it seemed like a natural fit for me. Also, the editing is much easier than editing video, which I personally don't like, which is why I've gone all in rather than to concentrate on my YouTube channel. I haven't completely given up on my channel, but until I can afford for someone else to edit my videos, I'm only going to be putting up my audio podcast episodes there. So yeah, I took the plunge because Pat made it look so easy. It wasn't. It took weeks of hard work and preparation. I had to come up with a podcast thumbnail, which I did myself. I'm pretty proud of how that turned out. I did a ton of research and I launched with 3 episodes right out of the gate. Though there were a lot of pieces to the puzzle, the hardest thing was finding the courage to tell people about it. My imposter syndrome, which most people have, by the way, was out and about. I mean, she was strong. I knew that once I told people, there was no turning back. So I began to write about it in my newsletter. I recorded a teaser and I put it up on Instagram and Facebook, and I got a lot of people cheering me on. So what I want to talk about today is what I learned from my 1-year journey of podcasting and what that means to me. Number 1, I learned that I'm capable of planning and executing big projects. This is a big deal because I'm creative and I have more ideas than most people can shake a stick at, but follow through has been something that's difficult for me because every time I get stuck on something, conveniently, a new idea for something else comes in, and so I might sort of chase that. It's called the, what is it, shiny thing syndrome, So knowing that I could actually follow through and do what I said I'm going to do and stick with it, that makes a big deal because that helps me to know that I can do that for other projects. Number 2, I'm capable of doing something long term no matter what. So the no matter what, that's a big deal because I can tell you there's a lot of other things I'd rather be doing than sitting down and planning my podcast. Hopefully my podcasts feel natural to you, and they usually are, but I do write out what I'm going to say. And it takes time. It takes time. Sometimes I have to do research. I'm usually talking about things that are dear to my heart or things that happened throughout my week working with either students or music professionals. But in any case, I don't always feel like doing it. I mean, it is time consuming. The writing of it can take an hour or more, depending on what it's about and how intricate it is. Sometimes I'm interviewing people and the editing takes a very long time. I also have podcast thumbnails for each episode that goes up onto my website, and then I've got the podcast notes, and then I've got all of the how do you say, the advertising of it, rather, the promotion of it when I put that up on Facebook and Instagram. And so that has to be done, and that takes a minute. So it's a lot of work, and sometimes I just don't feel like it, or sometimes I have a busy week. Sometimes I'm on the road, so I could be out on the road traveling. Well, if I know my podcast is coming up, then I have to take all my equipment with me, and sometimes I'm doing it in hotel rooms, or a couple times I had to do it. I'm in the airport, and during a layover, I'm doing all the editing so I can get it up as soon as I have internet. Just life be lifing, and I just don't always feel like it. But one thing I'm proud to say is that I got it done no matter what. Number 3, I'm capable of finding my courage despite my fears. This was scary, man. This is scary, y'all. I'm telling you, putting yourself out there, it always is scary. It doesn't matter what that is, whether that's posting your first video on TikTok or singing at a karaoke bar or whatever it is that where you just put yourself out there in a very public way. It's scary because you're faced with what will they think about me? Will they like me? Will they laugh at me? Will they say, who does she think she is? That type of thing. And I know these are things you've probably heard when it comes to your performing, but you can push through it because at the end of the day, the truth is that anybody that has anything negative to say about what you're doing, they probably haven't done it. Because people who actually do what you're trying to do, they know how hard it is. They know how much courage it takes. And so typically the only people that are going to give you a negative feedback or negative petty commentary are usually the people that aren't doing much of anything. So we have to stop worrying about those people. Number 4, I'm capable of learning and improving as I go. So as I started the podcast, like I said, Pat made it look so easy. And I'm like, yeah, I got this. And then I start running into tech issues, whether that's mic issues or using my DAW, my interface to record with. It's only GarageBand, but, sometimes it's a little buggy. And, just all kinds of different things you run into, or you ran out of time, or it's last minute and like you have to get it out there, even though it's not absolutely your best work. But I can say that my process has gotten a lot smoother, it's gotten easier, and it's even faster. So it does make it a little less daunting whenever I have to do an episode. Number 5, not every episode was good, but they were all necessary for getting me to where I am today as a podcaster. Listen, I'm all about information and analysis now. And that did not used to be the case because I'm not a numbers person. I'm not a math person. But what I know is if you do something enough times, you'll eventually get enough data or information to tell you about how you're doing. So if you do something 3 times, well, 3 times is really not a lot. So let's say you mess up all 3 times, then you're going to have the impression that everything you do is crappy. But you might have needed to do it 10 times to see that actually you just needed the reps. You need to get your reps in. And so knowing that every time I do this, every time I show up to do this, there's something that I can learn, which I can apply to the next time and hopefully do it a little bit better. So I learned a lot there. Number 6, I am a good listener and I make my guests feel comfortable. I can say that during my podcast, I had some of the best conversations I've had with people ever. Some of the guests are long-term friends who are really dear to my heart. Some of them are people I really admire and have sort of admired from afar and watched their career, like China Moses. I don't really know her personally. I mean, we've met. We were on a jury together one time for a singing competition, but I didn't really know her. And of course, everybody knows her mother. But those conversations, they were heartfelt conversations from one artist to another. And it gave me so much insight as to how other artists think and feel. And so they were very, very exciting conversations, but meaningful, really heartfelt. And I realized that I'm really good at that. And I could see myself, I don't know if I'm going to be the next Oprah, but I definitely feel like there's a career in this for me that I can see myself doing this long term because I really enjoyed it. And so did my guests. Number 7, I have a lot of pertinent wisdom to share and I share it freely. Listen, I've been around the block more than 49 years. I'll be 50 in June. 50, wow. And I'm learning all the time. You never stop learning unless you're an idiot. That's just how I feel. If your eyes are open and you're breathing and you're out there doing things, there's things to be learned. And I learned so much from my daily interactions with students or with musicians. And I want to share them with people because I think the most valuable resource that I have to offer you, the listener, is my experiences and hopefully things that can help you with your mindset as a professional in the music industry. Number 8, sharing what I know is one of the best ways to clarify what I know. Here's the thing. You think you know something. Well, you understand how well you know something when you start to try to explain it to somebody else. So as I started planning things out, and I started to see some things that weren't clear or maybe some anomalies, I had to rethink certain things. So this whole process of being a podcaster has actually made my thought process about being an artist and a teacher a lot more clear because I had to make it clear for you. So I learned a lot there. Number 9, the real experiences I have when teaching or performing make some of the best content. Like I said earlier, I believe in having real conversations and real connections with people. And so I'm not looking for hypothetical situations to help you out. I am speaking from experience. I usually don't plan out my podcast weeks in advance because I have so much material on a weekly basis that it just doesn't make sense for me. And Pat probably wouldn't be very happy with me about that because he tells us to plan out like at least a quarter or two and maybe even a year's worth of episodes in advance. And I started trying to do that. And on paper, that looks good. But when you're a creative like me and the ideas are fighting to get through, it feels more natural to talk about things as they occur because they're fresh in your mind and they're vivid and they just make sense. So just being Monique, the life that I lead, allows me to talk about a lot of different things. Number 10, serving first is one of the best codes of conduct I could have ever adopted. I wouldn't say that I never served before. I mean, I do think that I've always been a service-oriented person. But now this is really clear and deliberate. Like, I'm really doing what I do to help people. I really want to make sure that the people who are consuming my content are consuming it because they're going to do something useful with it. I really don't want to be making content that's fluff or, things that just sort of, they're just like a minor energy boost, but you're actually not going to see any change or anything like that. I really feel like me serving you requires that I dig deep and that I don't hold back in what I'm giving you. So I'm not, delving out things and like, well, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to keep the rest to myself. No, the things that I'm saying to you are things I would be saying to paying clients, So you're getting real valuable pieces of me in every episode and in every email if you read my email. Number 11, being a podcaster allows me to reach people I could have never met in person. So, you know, you've heard people say content is king. I'm going to say content is queen because we rule too, right? But everything that I put out there is, it's from the heart. And so it's kind of cool to reach people around the world, people who give you feedback and you're like, I don't even know this person. I'm not sure how they found me. And I love having stories where they'll write to me and I'm like, how did you find me? And some people say, well, I found you through YouTube or, different avenues. I don't personally do any paid ads at the moment because I ain't got the money for that, but I just don't. I do it a different way. I tend to find that people find me through word of mouth because somebody they know and trust worked with me or reads my stuff or listens to my podcast. But again, it's just really cool to know that somewhere around the world, people that I have never actually met consume my content. Every once in a while, I'll look at stats about what countries people consume my stuff in. And I saw something in South America, Eastern Europe. It's like, whoa, okay, that's really cool. Number 12, I currently make €0 from my podcast. But if I can help one person with their mindset, I've done my job. Now, I believe that totally because my whole way of working is so that the me that I used to be, hopefully I'm helping somebody who was like me. I try to make it so that the information I'm giving out is information I would have liked to have had when I was 18. So I'm constantly, my newsletters, I'm writing for that person. And even the classes I try to create classes that I would have liked to have had that didn't seem to exist. Let me give you an example. As a singer who was classically trained, I couldn't understand how to bridge the gap between my classical training and singing the music I really wanted to sing, which was gospel, soul, R&B, and everything else but classical. I mean, I love classical. That's a part of me that I'll never deny. And, there's a part of me that still would love to have a career doing the coloratura work that my instrument is so meant to do. But it's a little late for that now, but that's okay. But I needed to find a way to bridge the gap between classical training and actual singing, popular styles of music. And that was a rough road for me. It was horribly rough. And I see a lot of people still struggling with that today where, they might already be performing and singing, but they know they need technique, but they're afraid to go to see a teacher because they don't want to wind up singing Cattle Mule Ben or, some other art song because they also don't see how to bridge the gap between classical singing and popular styles of music. And so one of my jobs is to help people with that, to realize that there's a way to train the voice so that you can sing most styles of music very healthily, very soulfully, and very authentically. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. And making sure that the mindset follows through with that is so important to me. Number 13, everything that I've learned can be applied to every other area of my life, and that makes me unstoppable. Yes, so if I look at, let's say I look back at number 1, which is I'm capable of planning and executing big projects. As a singer, that means, let's say, a big project obviously would be an album. Writing an album, creating an album, recording an album, getting it produced and mixed and mastered and, and releasing it and all the stuff that goes behind it. While I haven't done that recently, I've done it a while ago with my group, Voices of Praise, so many years ago. Haven't done it recently, and I haven't done it as a solo artist. I know that if I decided to do it, that I'm capable of doing it. I'm also capable of following through and taking it all the way to the end of the project and not giving up because I'm tired or because my motivation ran out or because my cat died. So all of the things that I learned from this podcast, I plan on applying that to every other area of my life where I might be struggling. As a teacher, navigating the teacher business, and there is a such thing as a teacher business. I mean, it is a business now with the possibility of reaching millions of people through the internet. this is definitely a business. And so positioning myself in a way that allows me to reach the right people, and also stay true to myself is important. And there's a way to do that. And so this podcast has been really helpful with helping me to do that. So with that said, this journey has been long and arduous. There were weeks I didn't have the time, energy, or inspiration to plan and record my episode, and yet it went out every Monday without fail for 1 year. Apparently, most people give up at around week 20. I showed up for me, and I showed up for you, and the feedback I've gotten warms my heart. So I'm looking forward to doing another year and making more true connections with my listeners, learning how to improve my topics and my editing. I'm looking forward to having more guests to share their insights so that you, the listener, can get some of the valuable help you need for free. If you're listening to this, I want you to know how much I appreciate you for taking the time to dive in. Some of you have shared your thoughts by writing comments. Others have given my podcast great ratings or sending me emails. It all counts, so please keep it up. As long as I know you're listening and enjoying it, and I have something useful to say, I'll keep going. I'm not into fluff, as I said before. So if there ever comes a time when I don't have anything helpful or authentic to say, I'll stop. With that said, I am currently a bit tired. I've got a lot going on because I'm working on some new projects as a teacher, and I'll tell you about that soon. For a few weeks, it's just been a little bit harder for me mentally to sit down and get this work done. And there are many reasons for this, but I'm considering taking a short break or maybe changing the format to something like 2 times per month, or perhaps doing seasons of like 12 episodes or more. I'm not really sure. I'm going to give myself this week to think about it, but I'll keep you posted. In any case, I realize that in order for me to continue to be a resource for you, I have to take good care of myself first. Thank you so much for listening. By the way, when I say musically Monique, what I mean is that whatever I do it artfully. So I sign my emails that way because art, more specifically music, is in everything that I do. That is truly who I am. Those who know me know that is true. It took me a long time to own that about myself, but I embrace it now, and I feel seen, heard, and powerful. Thank you so much. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're really liking what I'm throwing down, you'll love my Mike Masters newsletter. For more information on how to work with me and to sign up for the newsletter, visit www.moniquebthomas.com or check the show notes. Musically, Monique.